Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time you're watching this video. It's me again, Teacher Kent, and today we're going to review our previous topic, which is about light. We are going to need to review it because this coming week, when we have our online class, we are going to talk about it. Not just talk about it, but we're gonna have a test all about it. So I need you to listen and I need you to study. Are you ready? Let's start. Okay? Our topic is all about light. Now, what is light? Light is a form of energy that travels in a straight line. However, some objects can stop this said energy, let it pass, decrease it, or even return the said energy to a different direction. Remember that the light is a combination or is the main part of a color scheme, which means that a single ray of light contains a lot of different colors, especially if it passes through different mediums. Now, there are three types of objects when it comes to light. The first is the transparent objects. You know what are the transparent objects? Those are the objects that will let light pass. It will not stop light from going through. In fact, some objects will just act like nothing's there and the light will pass through it. Another type of object is the translucent object. A translucent object is a type of object that lets light pass, but maybe only a little bit or maybe just enough. Next, we have an opaque object. Now, an opaque object is an object that will not ever let light pass. It will stop light in its tracks. Let's find out more about these types of objects. Transparent objects, objects that can allow light to pass through. These are examples of transparent objects, okay? This glass cup. This glass cup, or a proper name, is the clear glass cup. It has no color whatsoever. It will let light pass 100%. Next, another object is, another clear object, a clear white plastic. This will also let light pass. We also have a diamond. The diamond will let light pass too. But sometimes a diamond, when light passes through it, it will create a sort of rainbow effect where other colors suddenly come out. But just the same, it's a transparent object. Oh, the last one is, of course, clear and clean water. It will let light pass. Clear and clean water. That is, those things are the transparent objects. Let's now go to the translucent ones, or objects that allow only a percent or a small part of light to pass. An example would be this very cool looking sunglasses. You can still see when you look through them, you can still see some light, but it stops the light from getting in 100%. In fact, they were created to be that very thing so that people don't need to be hurt when going outside in the morning because of the sunlight. You can use your you can use your sunglasses to stop the harmful rays of the sun, because if you look at the sun's rays for a few seconds, you might burn your eyes. So always use a translucent object. Next is another translucent object is what we call a magnifying glass, a type of glass that would help a small word look big or small things look bigger. How does this help become a translucent object? It lets light pass. However, because it's curved, some of the light will just reflect to another area, or only a little bit of the light can pass. That's why this is a translucent object. Next one is this, a clear plastic bag. Oh no, it's not clear. It's a colored plastic bag. It's a bag that is full of color. Light light can pass through this, but it will change color and it will change strength, meaning that the light that passes through it will only be a little bit stronger than the original light. Those are the translucent objects. We're now going to the third type of object, the opaque objects, or objects that do not ever let light pass. We have an eraser. An eraser will not let light pass. It will stop whatever light comes through it. Next is a rock. A rock also will stop the light. We also have a book. Now, the paper in the book, if it's just a single piece of paper, you can say it's a translucent object. It allows light to pass, but only a little bit. However, if you add many translucent objects together, it will eventually stop all of the light from passing. And the book is a big example of an opaque object. Another opaque object is us humans. Not only us humans, but animals too, and trees. Opaque objects do not let light pass. Now, once there is a big enough light and a small enough object, opaque object, when they come together or when the light hits a small object, the small object will create something. And what is that thing? The small object will create what is known as a shadow. A shadow is a dark area or shape produced by a body coming between rays of light and a surface. If, for example, in this picture, the man is small enough, but the room outside is has a very strong light, it will create a shadow on the back of the man. Now, the shape of the shadow depends on the strength of the light and its position. If the lower the position of the light, the taller the shadow. The higher it is, the smaller the shadow. That is why in early morning or near evening, our shadows are the longest because they are almost at the ground level, the sun. However, if the sun is on the top during noon, our shadows are almost very small or you cannot see them. Now, we're talking about light. So my question is, what is the largest light source in our solar system? Do you still remember? This will come out in the test. It is the sun. The sun is the largest light source in our solar system. In fact, it's our main light source in the solar system. Now, a moon, do you know the moon? The moon will help the sun, okay? If the sun lights up the earth at morning, the moon will light up the earth at night. However, the moon just gets its light source from the energy or the light of the sun. The moon itself does not have its own light source. And because it gets its light source from the sun, the moon sometimes looks like it changes shape. How does the moon change its appearance? As the moon orbits around the earth and the earth orbits around the sun, the angle between the sun, the moon, and the earth changes. As a result, the amount of sunlight that reflects off the moon and travels to our eyes changes every day. The moon itself produces no light of its own. We see the moon's disk change from all dark to all light to all dark again. This span of time is called a lunar cycle, a lunation, a lunar month, or a synodic month. The length of the cycle can vary slightly, but on average, it's 29.53 days. Astronomers have broken down this cycle into four primary main phases: the new moon, the first quarter, the full moon, and the last quarter. There are also four secondary phases: the waxing crescent, the waxing gibbous, the waning gibbous, and the waning crescent. I think we've already talked about this last time. Remember, the basic shape of the moon that we know is looks like a letter C. That is a crescent shape. And a gibbous shape is a shape that looks like almost a complete circle, but you can see that one side of it is bigger than the other side. So in order to memorize all of these phases of the moons, the best way is to understand what they are talking about. Waxing means that it is growing, or it waxing crescent means that the moon is slowly growing. It's still a baby crescent. It will slowly become a first half moon, then a waxing gibbous, meaning it's growing now and it's now on a gibbous size. After that, it will then grow into a full moon. After the full moon, we will have the waning phases. Or waning means that it's slowly becoming smaller. First, we have the waning gibbous. It's still almost like a full moon, but half of its side is smaller than the other. Then we have the last half moon and the waning crescent. Finally, it disappears and becomes another new moon. And that's it. Those are the eight phases of the moon. Let's review them, shall we? The first phase is the new moon. The second phase is the waxing crescent. The third phase is the first quarter or the first half moon. The third, the fourth phase is the waxing gibbous. The fifth phase is the full moon. After the full moon, we then have the sixth phase, the waning gibbous. We will have the seventh phase, the last half moon, and finally the eighth phase, which is the waning crescent. And then it'll start all over again back to the new moon. Did you remember all of that? You should, because those will come out in our test this coming Friday. And these are what they look like, or this is how the sun makes the moon change shape. If the moon is in this side and you are in this area, it's a waning crescent. If it's here and you are here, it's a new moon. It's here, it's a waxing crescent. Here, first quarter waxing gibbous. You can see that during the first quarter, you can see half of it's not, because this half is getting hit by the sun. Same with the last quarter, the waning gibbous, and of course the full moon. That is how the moon looks like when it changes its appearance. Can I clear this all? Let me just clear. Thank you. We're done with that. See this? That's the same thing. The new, the young, the waxing crescent, the waxing quarter or the first quarter, the waxing gibbous, the full moon, the waning gibbous, the waning quarter, the waning crescent, and the old moon near the new moon. Now, we have what we call as eclipse. We got solar eclipse and lunar eclipse. This is what a solar eclipse looks like. It is when the earth, no, I mean the moon is between the sun and the earth. The sun will still give out rays of light like what you see. However, this part, the moon creates a shadow. And that shadow is called a solar eclipse. It will look like to some areas that the sun suddenly disappears. Now, this darker part is called the umbra. Please remember that. That is the umbra. And this part right here, it's what we call the penumbra. The umbra and the penumbra for the solar eclipse. Now, let's go to the lunar eclipse. In the solar eclipse, the moon was between the sun and the earth. But in the lunar eclipse, it's the opposite. The earth is between the sun and the moon. What happens is these areas, if there's a lunar eclipse, they cannot see the moon. It's like the moon suddenly disappeared. That is called a lunar eclipse. And just like what I said before, the shadow created by the sun has two faces. The first one being the umbra, and the second one being the penumbra. Those are the two parts of the shadows of the lunar eclipse. And that is it for today, class. I need you to study. I hope this video will help you in studying. We just reviewed together what we learned for the last 2 weeks. If you notice, I was talking a little bit fast because I already know that you know most of these things because you study with me every Friday. So I hope you study more and I will see you again on Friday, okay? Goodbye, class.